actually have a few mixed emotions about this movie. Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I am bringing you guys yet another review, and as you can see by the title, today I'll be talking about The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Let's get started. However, before we get started, you'll know as usual, I have to talk about the storyline, talk about the characters and all of that, and because of that, the spoiler alert is in effect. But just like my previous review, I'll be splitting this video into two, with a non-spoiler review first and the spoiler review coming up afterwards. So for now, in the meantime, whether you've watched the movie or not, you can rest assured there won't be any spoilers as of yet, okay? So for real, let's get started. So if you do not know by now, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the third film from the Conjuring series and the fifth film from the Conjuring franchise, if I remember correctly, because there's Annabelle and there's The Nun, then it's The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, and then it's The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, right? I can't remember if there's one that I'm missing or not, but those are the ones I know that were part of this franchise as well. And according to the internet, the third film is about paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who take on one of the most sensational cases of their careers after a cop stumbles upon a dazed and bloodied young man walking down the road. Accused of murder, the suspect claims demonic possession as his defense, forcing the Warrens into a supernatural inquiry unlike anything they've ever seen before.
You okay there? Jesus.
I think I hurt someone.
Going into this film, I will not lie, I was terrified, okay, because I am someone that's easily scared and I wasn't quite sure what I'm getting myself into, okay. I was slowly regretting, but I was like, who do I think I am, thinking I could watch this film all by myself. And so in normal Conjuring fashion, the intro of this film is quite long, because if you know the Conjuring films, the intro is always a story, another possession story that somehow links with the main story of this film. I don't know if you can hear birds outside, but okay. Anyway, in this case, we had the story of David Glatzel, who was an 8-year-old boy and he had been possessed, and his parents had called over Ed and Lorraine to, exorcise him. So within this room, along with Ed and Lorraine, were David's parents, as I already mentioned, as well as David's sister and his sister's boyfriend, Arnie Johnson. And this is how everything sort of starts, with how the main story comes into play. So during this exorcism, okay, David, or whatever had possessed him, goes a little haywire. Things are seeming a little out of control, and it doesn't seem like much is being done. It doesn't seem like it's quite working the way they had hoped it would, and so everybody's stressed, right? And this is the moment that Arnie thinks, hey, I have the perfect solution. So what does he do? He looks straight in the demon's eyes, which is technically David's eyes at this point in time, looks at him and says this.
Listen to me! Look at me! Look at me! I know you're still in there, David! Just leave him alone, okay? Leave him alone and take me! Take me.
I'm sorry, but I do not care how much I love you, okay? I will never willingly subject myself to possession. Heck no. And that is basically what sets off the story, because a few months after that, Arnie accidentally murders someone, and that is the trial then that takes place during the whole movie. And in order to not give you spoilers, I will just stop there, but let's say it's rather, quite a roller coaster of events that happen after the murder and the conviction of the guy. Was he convicted actually? No, he wasn't convicted yet, but he was arrested, of course, pending trial. And the whole story then follows that, because as you said in the synopsis said he pled not guilty because he had not been doing the deed by himself, but rather the devil made him do it. Okay.
Mr. Johnson, to count one of indictment number SAJ1216, which charges you with first-degree murder, a Class A felony. How do you plead?
Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty by reason of demonic possession.
And it was up to Lorraine and Ed to kind of sort of prove the existence of the devil in order to, you know, not have him go into jail because of murder. If you have not watched it, I will say that it is a good movie. I enjoyed it as far as I am able to enjoy a horror movie. But if you like the Conjuring series, you will definitely like this one, I feel. However, I do think it's one of the weaker ones out of the three. I still think the first one was the scariest one out of all of them. And so I think watching it is definitely, you know, it will definitely be worth your time. However, it's not as scary as the first two because I was able to watch it by myself all the way through, and that says a lot. So I say give it a try. It's pretty interesting. Honestly, it was pretty interesting, especially with the whole aspect of proving the existence of the devil. That was pretty interesting. So I think watching it is not a waste of time. However, if you're expecting the thrill and horror element that the first two Conjuring films had, then you might not have that need to be satisfied in this film. Okay, so now let's go into the spoiler part of this video. So for majority of this film, I was like, hey, this movie is not that bad. It's more of a murder / crime investigation film and not much of a horror like the first two films, right? So I was like, it's not that bad, hey, right? And then I may have sort of spoken too soon because soon after that thought came into my head. That's when that scene happened when they were in the funeral home. Yeah, when they're in the funeral home, and then Lorraine got a channel, so she holds that that hand. That hand traumatized me. And then that whole sumo wrestler looking type of entity came through, and I was just like, okay, it's about to get real. Clearly, it's about to get real. So watching this movie, I was already on edge because of the whole, because you know the first two films they dealt with, you know, demonic spirits. However, here it's kind of like they were dealing with the devil himself and the whole Satanist element thing, and I was really on edge because of that. And then the plot twist of the century was that the woman was the pastor's daughter all the time. I was like, what the heck? Wow. I was like, this is why they look at pastors' kids the way they do. So one thing that still rings in my mind to this day, I'm saying it like I watched this years ago, yet it's only been a few days, but I have thought about it since I heard it when I watched the film, was when Ed and Lorraine were in the police station, I think. No, I think that it was when they were still talking with the lawyer, and then they were like, the lawyer was like, it makes no sense why, she's like, there's no way she's gonna stand there in front of the judge and claim that this person is not guilty because, and the reason is demonic possession. Like, why would I, like, he's not gonna win the trial. And Ed basically says that everyone that in court proves the existence of God every time someone takes the stand and says, so help me God. And I was like, I did not think of that.
Ed and I have proven the existence of the demonic hundreds of times.
You've proven it to the church. This is a court of law. The standards of evidence are completely
The
different.
court accepts the existence of God every time a witness swears to tell the truth. I think it's about time they accept the existence of the devil.
That was quite profound for me. I have not forgotten that statement since I heard it. So towards the end of the film, like the final showdown, the final smack down, the bibbidi boo. Okay, we have to get rid of this curse from the root, which is this elderly lady, because she looks, you know, well within her age. Years have passed. And so because Lorraine goes there first, because she actually goes to the pastor, not knowing that the pastor's daughter is the one behind this whole thing. And so Ed follows a little after that, after he puts the pieces together. And when he gets there and he's like, Lorraine! And I don't know, can someone please explain this to me? Why in such situations someone will get there knowing very well that the person they're looking for is most probably in a lot of trouble right now, and they'll get there and scream their name. It makes no sense to me because the person that is causing the trouble could hear you coming and they could easily just hurt the person. I understand it's more or less like the easiest way to find someone because they could always just yell back, but you do realize the repercussions that may occur because of what you're doing. So I think my favorite scene in this movie was also towards the end, when the lady goes there and she activates whatever she's activating and she starts working on Arnie. And so he's like I think he's in the mental hospital or something. He's like, but there's like a hospital bed, and so he basically comes alive. So the possession happens again, and so then the girlfriend looks at the pastor because the pastor's there, and she's like, "It's time." The pastor's reaction.
What's happening?
Now?
No.
I think the thing is with the pastor's reaction is that it reminded me of remember, I think it's the opening scene of one of the scary movies.
Fuck this.
So I immediately thought of that, and I was like, you really just like, you don't dip like that? You want to dip like that? But am I judging? No. Why? Because I would probably dip too. But the problem is that your job kind of sort of does not require you to be the dipping type. Honey, okay, you gotta stay put. Because the minute you dip, don't you think that kind of sort of makes the entire thing a little bit ironic? So just like with all the other Conjuring films, of course, the Warren couple have to come up victorious, okay? So they were able to get rid of all the curse from its root. However, Arnie was found guilty of manslaughter, which is better than murder, because he was arrested for murder, but he was found guilty for manslaughter instead and was given 5 years in prison instead of the death penalty, because that's what they were going for. So I guess it's somewhat of a win. As I mentioned, this film was one of the least scariest ones out of the 3 Conjuring films, and the first one has to be the scariest one because I have not finished that film to this day. However, it still creeped me out, but I think that is because I am a scaredy cat. I'm also not quite sure whether this movie was just not as scary, or maybe a girl has matured and does not find such things that scary anymore. Because mind you, I watched the first one, I think I was around 15, 16 when I tried watching it, and I have not watched it ever since, and a few years have passed since then. So I'm not sure whether it's because this one was not that scary, or I'm just older, so I don't find certain things I would find scary at 16 now. Makes sense? So in my trailer reaction video, I mentioned that the trailer was giving me God's Not Dead 2 but twisted. So this movie is kind of giving me God's Not Dead 2 but twisted, because in God's Not Dead 2 the lady had to prove the existence of God in court, and these people have to basically prove the existence of the devil in court. That's what I'm getting from the trailer, and it was not at all like God's Not Dead 2, because I thought majority of the film was going to take place in the court. We're going to watch the case unfold, and that is not at all what we got, and that is what God's Not Dead 2 does. Most of it takes place in the courtroom, so it was not at all like the flipped version of that movie, so I stand corrected. And this one is very different compared to the first 2, because as I said, this one was giving me murder, mystery, crime investigation type of vibes, whereas the first 2 are just full-blown horrors. So it's quite different in the way that the story unfolds, but it's still a good story, still a good movie nonetheless. However, I think that the Conjuring series can die now. It can end. Not necessarily the franchise. They might come up with other films, kind of like The Nun and Annabelle and all of that. But I think the Conjuring series can end with the trilogy and we call it a day. So if you've watched this film, let me know if you guys liked it or not. What was missing? What did you guys need more of? Or were you satisfied with how the movie happened and how turn of events, took place? So let me know about all of that, okay? So yeah, on that note, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, switch on post notifications, all that amazing stuff. Until next time, stay grand. Bye. Okay, so if you do not know by now, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the 3rd movie from the Conjuring confused. We had David's parents, of course, as I mentioned, his sister and his sister's boyfriend, Arnie. David's parents were there, as I already mentioned, as well as David's sister and David's sister's boyfriend, Arnie. Why do I keep calling him Arnie? It's like, this is not Glee. Like, what the heck? So if you do not know by now, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It is the third movie from the Conjuring franchise. Along with David's parents were his sister as well and his sister's boyfriend, Arnie Jacobs. Johnson. Who the heck is Jacobson? Along with David's parents were his sister and his sister's boyfriend, Arnie Jacob. Who the heck is Jacobson? So in the room, along with Ed and Lorraine. So during this whole exorcism, in the room, along with David's parents, were David's sister. Why can't I speak?